What's up, everybody? This is B Sal,
KK Special, how we doing?
doing wonderful on this July 4th. We're here for Deep Bomb, diving into our top 250 rankings, looking a little closer at some of the players that are harder to evaluate this year.
Yep. First off, we're going to start with a guy that everybody's talking about, Ezekiel Elliott. We got him ranked sixth overall running backs, 11th overall.
Yep,
So,
he's the belle of the ball this offseason ever since the Cowboys took him fourth. And yeah, I think people are definitely overreacting to the position he's in. Dropping into the best offensive line in the NFL. Many say, but a lot of people are saying he's going to get 200 to 300 carries, and that's certainly not out of the realm of possibility. Darren McFadden's hurt. Alf Morris is like the only backup, and that's all that Dallas has is Zeke Elliott and the desire to pound the football, to take the pressure off Tony Romo and the defense.
yeah. All right, so next we're going to look at Devonta Freeman. We got him 16th overall,
Yep,
running back 8.
RB8. Devonta, finished the year in 2015 as the number one overall RB, but that was due to his incredibly hot start. In his first 6 games, he scored 9 TDs, and then he only had 2 TDs in the last 10 games of the season.
Yeah, his yards per carry also dropped off dramatically after week 8. And, he also won the starting job only because Tevin Coleman got hurt, and Tevin Coleman, is going to be healthy. At least so far he is. So he's going to be there to push him for carries. And, if he ends up as being as bad as he was at the end of last year, he might just lose his starting job.
He really might. He really might. The Falcons loved Tevin Coleman. That's why they took him in the draft last year, and I think he's going to get the shot or a shot to prove himself. And I could definitely see the Falcons going with him if he outplays Devonta Freeman. Like, I don't think just because he had a historic start to the season last year that they're gonna, feel like they owe him anything. It just doesn't make sense. This is the NFL.
Yeah, they're going to put the best guy out there.
Exactly, and that might be Tevin Coleman. So yeah, that's why we've got him a little further down. He's our RP8 still. He has a very high ceiling as he showed last year, but his floor is like pretty low. And yeah, we'll see what happens there.
Grilling, your boy JB Grilling.
Jay Bizzle. So next up, we got Sammy Watkins, our wide receiver 9 and 18th player overall. That's a little higher. A lot of people have overreacted to the fact that he's currently injured this offseason, but all signs point to him being healthy, and that's what he needs. Like, that's what he's struggled with is his health.
Yeah, there's no doubt that he's the most explosive player on the field when he is healthy and out there.
Yeah.
And he gets those deep bombs because of Ty God Taylor's running ability. He scrambles, and then Sammy Watkins gets loose deep.
Yeah, he does. He's a master of that. He's a master of shaking and bacon, after a play breaks down. And I hope that we get to see him, play a full, healthy NFL season. And if he does, he will, definitely be in the top 10 wide receivers, possibly top 5, pushing for numero uno.
Yep.
Next up, we got Jordan Reed. Tight end 3 last year. We have him ranked as our tight end 3 this year. 47th overall, so dipping into the 4th round is where we think he should be taken.
Yeah, a lot of people have him higher, a lot or lower. He's one of those really hard guys to rank. He's as good, if not better than Gronk when he's healthy. Dude is a target machine, especially in the red zone.
Yeah, and if he can stay healthy is obviously important here, like it is with Sammy Watkins, who we were just talking about. Jordan Reed has struggled to stay on the field the last couple of years. Last year, though, he did for most of the season and rewarded people who owned him in fantasy. Speaking of the red zone, there's been talk that Josh Doxson's going to take on a big red zone role this year. I don't see that making any difference. As far as Jordan Reed's production goes, Josh Doxson, he's a rookie. He's going to struggle. Rookie wide receivers, they have trouble, and Jordan Reed's an established vet and a very talented one at that. And this is his second year with Kirk Cousins. Like, they're feeling comfortable. They had almost a full season last year. They've had a full off season this year, and I see them doing some magical things.
Right on. All right, next up we got Eddie Lacy.
Haha.
28th overall, a running back 13. We're a little higher on him than some guys, but we think he's going to bounce back.
We do, and I mean, he could even end up finishing higher than that. It's really hard to give him the benefit of the doubt. He shows up to fucking off season and starts off the season really out of shape every fucking year. But normally he's eaten too many Five Guys 2 times, bacon and cheeseburgers. But this year he's got a different off season plan.
Yeah, he's trying to go from Fat Eddie to Lean Eddie.
Yeah,
on that P90X.
Studying with Tony Horton in the offseason, and that's what Mike McCarthy said he wants to see. He wants to see Lacy take his job seriously, show up in shape, and stay in shape the whole season.
Well, yeah.
Burgers. There's those damn cheeseburgers, bro.
Yeah, last year was kind of fluky too. He only had 3 TDs, and he had 9 in 2013 and 11 in 2014. So
yeah,
there's an expectation that he can bounce back there. And the Packers' offense, just as a whole, was a disaster.
They were a mess, and I mean that threw the running game off a little last year. But I think 10 TDs and 1,000 yards is a reasonable expectation for Lacy. It's one he's proven that he can reach. And I think if he does that this year, he's gonna really help a lot of people out because he's falling to the 3rd, 4th rounds.
Yeah, I mean 2 years ago, this guy was being taken number 1 overall by some people. So there's an expectation he can definitely get it done.
Indeed. All right, next up, we got a player who I find personally very hard to evaluate. He kind of burned me a little bit last year when I took him pretty highly, but I still believe a little bit in Mike Evans. He's our 27th player on our board, wide receiver 14, wide receiver 27 last year. But I'm a little higher on him, and so are we than his production last year showed. And I've seen people much higher on him still, like than we have him.
Right. Yeah, he needs to cure that butterfinger of his. It'll be a lot better. I mean, he still like 1,200 yards last year, so that's pretty impressive. But he only had 3 TDs. That's got to get better. Him and Winston have another year together. Vincent Jackson is another year older, so they need Mike Evans
to break out of that sophomore slump. I completely agree, and I think he can do it. And I'm optimistic. If I see him in the 3rd round, I'm actually really happy to get him. I've seen people take him honestly as high as the 1st round. I think that's a bit too much, but probably not going to grab him in the 2nd, but maybe toward the end or at the top of the 3rd. I think he's a great pick. As long as he gets more efficient and builds that bond with Jameis Winston, they could tear things up for a couple years here.
All right, the last player we're going to look at is going to be Doug Baldwin.
Dougie.
We got him 36th. We got him 36th overall, wide receiver 19. We're definitely higher on him than some people are.
We are. I'm surprised people shit on him so much. He finished as the wide receiver 7 last year, and that was almost entirely based on the second half of his campaign, which is unsustainable. Like, he's not going to score 10 TDs in the last half of the season. But if you spread it out over the year, and he has a more steady production as far as yards and targets per game, then I mean it looked like the Seahawks and Russell Wilson figured it out last year with the pass game.
Yeah, and Lynch is gone. And Rawls is coming back from an ankle injury, so we're going to lean on those guys. And yeah, I think they figured it out. Also, they looked unstoppable at the end of last year.
They really did. They really did. Tyler Lockett's going to be there taking some targets away, but that's better. I mean, that means Baldwin won't see as many double teams because teams have to be worried about a reasonable second threat. So
yeah, and maybe Jimmy Graham will have a better season too. He's coming back from an injury.
Yeah,
they might look to get him more involved also since how their workhorse is gone.
Yeah, agreed. The Seahawks are just going to be more balanced, and Baldwin is their wide receiver one, and I don't see any reason why that changes. I think he can produce like one, and I think he
got paid like one.
Yeah, he got paid like one, and I think he offers a lot of value especially if you get him in like the 4th round. Like, geez, I love it every time I see him that late.